news at the top of every hour. This is the Big 550 KTRS St. Louis.
Streaming live at KTRS.com.
Depend on it.
KTRS presents the SumnerOne Holiday Tech Show.
Welcome to the SumnerOne Holiday Tech Show on the Big 550 KTRS. I'm Josh Gilbert, and sitting with me today is Jeff Grobe and Chad Hasselhorst from SumnerOne. You can hear Jeff and Chad every Friday on the Guy Phillips Show, and you have heard them every Friday on the Guy Phillips Show. Jeff Grobe, Chad Hasselhorst, welcome to the SumnerOne Holiday Tech Show.
Hey, thanks for having us, Josh.
Yep, thank you.
And it is after Christmas, and we are all kind of just flush with fresh holiday cash. Isn't that what everybody asks for anyway these days?
Or gift cards.
Or gift cards. And it's time to talk tech. And now after Christmas and all the malls have been kind of picked through and everything, we can sit down and we can talk what to do with our fresh cash and what to buy this post-holiday season. It's the SumnerOne Holiday Tech Show, so that's what we're going to be talking about today. Now, what are the hot things that are out there? We'll get into that. What are some of the pitfalls that you'll have to overcome when it comes to shopping for tech? I think most people, just in general, are intimidated when they go out shopping. And then, they go to these places and the people there start speaking a language that they don't know. And that just makes things even worse. And sometimes when I've been shopping for computers or tablets or phones or watches these days, I've just thrown my hands up and said, you know what? I'm going to push this off for another date because I'm in way over my head. So I'm going to use your expertise, Jeff and Chad. This will be a show for the listeners, but just between you and me, this is a show for me too, because there's a couple of things I need to be shopping for. First and foremost, I need a new computer.
Okay.
So when we go out and looking for computers, whether they're desktops, laptops, are people still buying desktops these days?
We do see desktops out there, but not as much as the laptops. From my point of view, when we look at our clientele, I think most of the places now are using Surface, like a tablet or what
mix.
They call a portable. Yeah,
a mix or a Surface. Really, when we see desktops, I start to think that they have a Mac.
Right.
That seems to be the lasting desktops you'll see. Those large iMacs.
And you mentioned the Surface. What is that?
The Surface is a Microsoft device and it runs Windows. And I think it's co-opted. I'm not sure Microsoft actually makes the hardware on it, but it is branded by Microsoft, so it's sold directly by Microsoft.
And it bridges the gap between almost a laptop and almost a tablet, somewhere in between there, where you want a little more functionality than you get with your iPad, but you really don't want to carry around that full laptop with you.
I think the key distinction is the user interface. The user interface is touch-based, but you can also drop down to using a standard keyboard and a mouse on those type of things.
And what I've noticed, I've done very cursory work in shopping for a laptop. I did this last year. Again, I pushed it off because I was just way too overwhelmed. I need to do it again this year. I got some holiday cash. I'm going to go out and buy a laptop. But when I say laptop, am I talking a Surface? Am I talking a tablet? Am I talking a Chromebook?
Well, first you have to figure out what are you going to do with it. Because, that's just like saying I need a car. But do you need a car to go around town? Do you need a car to go across the country? Or are you going on a race, Like, are you playing high graphics video games?
Or SUV versus, a big gas hog, or do you want something that is more economical, like electric vehicle or something like that?
Well, I know what I want, but I'm going to try to keep it more general because this isn't about Josh's tech needs. We can do that off the air.
Okay.
But when we're looking at laptops, as you say, what are you looking to do? Most people these days, they're just surfing the internet, right?
That's a very common use, yes.
The first thing I tell anybody when they ask me about laptops, I say, go to the store, find a size you like first, because you have to figure out the screen size. We've had many people at work, they'll order a laptop, and then they realize the functionality. It's an 11-inch screen. They're used to a 15, and they just can't deal with that. Or a smaller one is the actual keyboard layout, how it types, how it feels. These are the little things people don't think about. But these are kind of the big differences for the user functionality.
When I was doing my own personal research, I found I used to own a 17-inch laptop, and it was heavy, and it was big, and it was too much. It even had the number keypad on the keyboard, and it was too big. And then I bought a laptop off my sister, and it was one of those mini ones with an 11-inch screen, and the keyboard was tiny, and it's like Goldilocks. This bed's too big, this bed's way too small. And I found online the 14.1 inch screen and keyboard, that's probably my bread and butter. This porridge is just right for me.
And that's probably about the common size that we see out there. We move a lot of 15-inch.
15.6, that's the standard. Yeah. When everyone thinks of a laptop, a 15.6 is your standard laptop. So if you want a little smaller or a little bit larger, then that would be, your good starting point when referencing numbers when they go, well, that's a 12-inch. Because I know a lot of people like to shop online, especially with all the crowds that are going to be coming to, return stuff and just go look at the deals of markdown products. So you really need to, I'd say, get out there and at least get your hands on some stuff before you actually make the online purchase.
Okay, so that's size. But then let's get into a Surface or a Chromebook or an actual, do you call them laptops? What do you call them with a hard drive and everything? Because you got these other ones that are in between a tablet and a laptop, and then you've got your good old workhorse that you can actually store some stuff on.
Right, and this is going to come back to what's your primary task. If you're just browsing the web, using email, and just generally communications and stuff like that, you don't need a super powerful machine. You don't need to get the best processor out there. You don't need to get the largest hard drive. But if you're doing compute-intensive things like using Excel spreadsheets, doing pivot tables, doing mathematical computations or research, then you probably want to start looking at what are the differences in the processing speeds, i5, i7, i9. That's the three main families of processors out there on the workstation side. And you need to start to focus in on what it is, your daily, what's going to be your daily use of this machine.
So let's talk about, you mentioned families. Let's talk about families, storing photos, having your iTunes library on your laptop or your desktop. The desktop, obviously, that's got a big hard drive, and that sits, somewhere in the family room for everyone to use. But when we're talking laptops, you want to store data on there. You want to have, I've got all my pictures. I got married recently, and all my pictures are on thumb drives because I don't have a home computer to store them on just yet.
Well,
so
a lot of people use the iCloud for that. I mean, they're moving to the online storage for photos. It's like a secondary backup plus a main place you can get when you're traveling or you want to show somebody and you don't want to take everything with you. You can log in and see it, and you don't have to worry about, if your home computer crashes or if you lose it.
Another important distinction is if you're already using iPhone and your family's using iPhones and stuff like that, but you don't have a family computer yet, that should drive you towards Apple products because the Apple products work very well together. So if you're already playing in that ecosystem, it would make sense then to start looking at an iMac or a Mac Mini or something like that to drive your purchase decision.
Do the MacBooks, they got quite a price tag on them. Do they sell like last year's?
They sell refurbed.
Okay.
Yeah. I bought my wife an 11-inch refurb from Micro Center. It was about $300 cheaper than brand new. And Apple products, you can usually tell within the first month if there's going to be an issue.
Well, I've got a problem because much like cars these days, they don't make them like they used to. You get a laptop and you have it around for 3, 4, or 5 years. All of a sudden, you're like, this thing it doesn't work anymore, and I need to go out and buy something new. I would be scared to buy something refurbished because these things only last a couple of years anyway, and this computer's already been through one cycle of use.
I think generally the Apple refurbs are the current generation of machines that are for sale right now, and they go through a careful process of vetting those before they resell them to the public. They do come with the same warranty as the original, the non-refurbished devices. And one of the most important things about the refurbished machines is that they've been road tested already. They've been burned in. So, usually when a machine fails, it usually fails within the first couple of 100 hours of use. And since the refurbished machines have already gone through that window, the chances of it having a further breakdown, barring any type of dropping or accident or something like that, they're usually pretty stable machines.
Yeah, the only other thing is, if someone returns a computer, they either returned it because they had a problem or they just didn't want it. And most people sometimes say, there was a hard drive problem or there was some other type of problem, but really they just didn't want the computer. So, anything that gets returned becomes refurbished.
Yeah, and the refurbs, I guess, they weed out the lemons.
Absolutely. And I think there's one distinction we should make here. I think you actually went to Micro Center and got a refurb machine. Apple hosts their own refurb store online. If you log into the Apple website and you scroll all the way to the bottom and click on store, there's a refurb section in there where you can look and get great deals. And they don't publish ahead of time what those deals might be. So if you're looking to buy a new computer, I would encourage anybody, especially if they're going in the Apple ecosystem, go to that page and look and see what today's deals are. It may not be tomorrow's deals, but tomorrow's deals might be better. And another thing is Apple's been very proactive towards making customers have a very good customer service experience. So in the past, I've ordered a machine off the refurbished site, and I've spec'd it out and said I want 8 gigs of memory. And ultimately, the machine that came to my house might have had 16 gigs of memory, because at the time that I placed the order, they might have been out of a different model, but they upgrade you. They never downgrade you, but they'll upstep you to the next model, which is kind of a cool feature.
Yeah, so that sticker shock when it comes to Apple products, sometimes that keeps us out of the ball game, but maybe buying a refurbished item can get us kind of back looking at our Apples again.
And another important distinction, without sounding too fanboyish when it comes to Apple here, is that the sticker shock does buy you some additional time. Most Apple computers that I see out there generally last at least 2, 3, maybe even 4 years longer than a general use Windows PC. I myself just recently donated my iMac that I bought in 2011 to the team so that they could come up to speed on some of the Macintosh operating system details, and that machine was my daily driver for 8 years.
8 years? Wow.
Yeah.
I still have that same exact type of machine in my house, and my kids use it. And the only difference is the 2011, you have to replace the hard drive to make it faster. But other than that, I mean, the specs kind of hold up pretty well, at least for what you're doing for average, internet surfing, you want to use Word and all that other stuff. We haven't had any problems at all.
Yeah, and I guess it would be an investment. And it kind of is like talking about cars. If you want one that's going to last you 10 years, do your research and buy that one, and you'll probably save yourself from having to switch over 2 or 3 times.
The car's a good analogy, and I use it a lot when I talk to people that are not in the know about technology stuff, because people understand, why do people buy Mercedes? Why do people buy BMWs? The quality of the build, just the way the doors close sometimes is so drastically different than other vendors that make, other manufacturers. And that's really what it comes down to in the Apple world, too. They always say that the people that use the Apples are more creative and they have demands that are different than normal Windows users. I'm not sure that argument still holds to the day, but from my point of view, as an Apple user since 1984, I would say on a daily basis, it just works. I don't have to spend a lot of time mucking around with the operating system.
And I think that's what most of us have a problem with, is that, the computer just stopped working. Well, we're not going to have that problem when it comes to an Apple machine. So sticker shock, and let's you can get it cheaper if you buy a refurb. But let's talk about this. Apples don't have a touch screen. So if you're looking for a touch screen laptop, Apple is just a big X as of now.
Very good point. Very good point. Right now, currently, Apple's touchscreen technology is limited to their phones and the iPad. So, yeah, that's a great differentiator. And especially when you start talking about the Microsoft Surface, the Lenovo Mix, and some of the other models that are out there. If you're really looking for a machine that has the full capability as far as power, memory, hard drive space of a desktop machine or a laptop, but also has that touch interface, then now you're really looking at the Windows 10 family of machines.
You're going to have to go to PC.
Yeah.
Now, before we do a wrap and a recap for this segment, talking about computers, let's just say the desktops. Let's throw those in there. And I was talking in my own family, using my example again. We are looking for a family computer. Now, I told my wife, I said, why do we want to be plugged into the wall when we can buy a laptop that does the same thing as a desktop? And if we want to sit down at the desk with the big monitor and the nice mouse and the keyboard, we can just dock it. And then if you have a laptop and you'd rather sit on the couch, or you want to go upstairs and do the same stuff that you were doing downstairs in the family room, you've got that laptop capability. So is that why we're seeing desktops going out of fashion?
Well, I don't know if that's the reason. I think people just got more used to moving around with the laptops, and then in the house, your desk area kind of disappears. It turns into your kitchen table. It turns into your dining room table. People don't really have the credenza set up with the big computer and the area like they used to back, in the early 2000s and the early 90s.
I would agree to some extent, and all I can really tell you is my experience personally. I have a large family, and we homeschool our children. So it became very apparent that if you had one single desktop that was very powerful, and had a lot of storage space and a lot of memory, the kids were fighting for that machine all the time, where it was easier to spread out and get a little bit less expensive laptops. that still allowed them to browse the web and get to their online school and stuff like that. And then they can go and lay in the corner or in the windowsill or something like that, wherever they wanted to go and do their schoolwork instead of feeling like they were, in a classroom, which was what we were trying to avoid. So.
Yeah, and you can probably these days even get wireless printing.
Absolutely.
And all that stuff. And printers, that's a whole other ballgame.
That is a whole other ballgame.
And that might be a whole other show. But just to recap, laptops probably the way to go, even when you're talking about a family machine. Probably get a laptop so you can bring it into the kitchen or bring it into the kids' room or bring it wherever you want. I sometimes like to go out to the garage and be outside and grilling, and I still need to kind of look up because I'm not an expert griller at this point. So how long does a steak need to cook on each side?
I've got that one at my search bar, too.
Yeah, it's amazing how, just thinking about how we have that type of information available. When I was thinking about this the other day when I was talking to my kids, and I said, I used to have to go to the library to do research on stuff. And now
library?
Right. And then my kids are like, why? They go to the library to get a unique book or something like that every once in a while, but not like I used to go, weekly, if not every other couple days or so. And if you wanted to look up how long to cook a steak, it was not a trivial task when we were younger.
You had to ask a chef.
Right. Now it's trivial. A 7-year-old can type in how to cook a steak and get the details.
A 3-year-old can just hit the mic button and ask.
Oh, yeah. That's true. Yep, absolutely.
How long does a steak take to cook? So we've got laptops. If you need to store family photos or your iTunes library and you're afraid of the cloud, maybe get a PC or a Mac laptop with a big hard drive. But if you're just looking to surf on the couch and have a keyboard with you, that Microsoft Surface or the Chromebooks or one of these more kind of...
Chromebooks are your best bet. I mean, I bought one for my grandma, like $100.
Yeah.
So you can't beat that with a functioning laptop that works.
And when you talk about zero maintenance, Chromebooks really probably are the pinnacle of zero maintenance. There's not hardly anything you can do on them from a maintenance point of view because they're so locked down and so locked into the Google environment. So if somebody's kind of afraid of computers or doesn't know what to purchase, maybe an older person, they want to get out there and get on the web and do stuff like that, it would be a fantastic device to push them towards.
Well, let me just ask a question here. This might be getting a little too technical and into the weeds, but if you got a Chromebook and then you attached a separate terabyte hard drive, you can have all of your pictures. You can have all of your music and whatever you need to store on there, and you don't have to pay that big sticker price for a big heavy-duty computer when you only need to do a couple of things to save to the hard drive.
Absolutely. Yep.
All right, coming up next, we will talk about those tablets. We will talk about those phones and those smart home devices. I'm still trying to figure out what I would use Alexa for, so maybe you guys can help me with that. It's Jeff and Chad. They're from SumnerOne, and this is the SumnerOne Holiday Tech Show on the Big 550 KTRS.
Geico presents eyewitness interviews with inanimate objects.
This is Brian Bruno, live on the scene of a recent windstorm, here to describe the event, The Chest of Drawers.
There's a storm howling outside, so I thought I'd stay in and watch a rom-com. 5 minutes into the flick, a tree branch slams through the window.
Were you hurt?
I just got a scratch on my chest.
Your chest of drawers can't help you in a windstorm, but the Geico Insurance Agency can help you get covered for personal property damage. Call Geico to see how affordable homeowners insurance can be.
It begins here, a tradition all its own. The 4 days that start the madness. This is the Valley. This is St. Louis. This is Arch Madness. The 2019 State Farm MVC Men's Basketball Championship returns March 7th through 10th at Enterprise Center, presented by Fox Sports Midwest. For tickets, call 800-745-3000 or visit archmadness.com. Since 1907, the Valley runs deep.
Back to the SumnerOne Holiday Tech Show on KTRS.
Welcome back to the SumnerOne Holiday Tech Show on the Big 550 KTRS. I'm Josh Gilbert, and I'm sitting here with Jeff Groby and Chad Hasselhorst from SumnerOne, and they are our tech guys. If you listen to the Guy Phillips Show on Friday afternoons, you'll hear Jeff and Chad every Friday afternoon. And guys, we just got done talking about computers, and this time of year, post-Christmas, it's New Year's. The sales are going to start hitting. The new models are probably going to start coming out. We've got a lot of cash left over from either things we returned or maybe we just asked for cash for Christmas or something. So it's now or never time to buy something electronic. So we talked about laptops last segment. Now we're talking about tablets. And you've got your Chromebook or your Microsoft Surface, and you guys are talking about how they're all touch screens, but they've got keyboards. Well, if we didn't want something with a keyboard per se, and we just wanted to cuddle up on the couch with a tablet, what kind of things are we looking at? You think iPad and question mark. What else is out there?
The Google Android
they have with the iPad Pro 11 is the new one out. The Galaxy Tab S4, I believe, is now out. And then the Surface Pro and then the Lenovo Mix. That's kind of your tablet, not laptop segment there.
And when we talk about these machines, these tablets these days, you can go online and find tablets for like $100. But what are these things? Motorola's and the Amazon.
Most of those
Kindle Fire or something.
Well, the Kindle Fire, that's more aligned for reading and just web browsing. So that's a very kind of niche one, which is real nice if you do like to heavily read. They're pretty well backlit just for your eyes for that long reading on all of the text.
The Paperwhite ones are really cool with regards to that. They've got one, the technology is called Paperwhite, I believe, and it makes the page on the screen look very much like a black and white printed page. So it's very easy on your eyes.
Like a book.
Like a book.
Like a book would. But that's not for heavy-duty surfing the web.
No, you can surf. There's a browser built in. I've got one of the devices at home that my wife uses, and you can browse a little bit, but really, as Chad said, it's really aimed at just reading books, downloading a book from the Kindle bookstore and reading the books.
So when we see a price tag of a tablet for $140, should that scare us off? What price range?
That means you're probably going to have basic functionality. You'll probably get the Android OS. That's a pretty standard one for the lower grade tablets because Android, it's pretty open. It's like the wild, wild west when it kind of comes to OSs versus Apple. Apple's kind of like, you come into our town, we have walls, and you have to abide by our rules. And when you come into the town for Android, it's more like, do what you want, but if something happens, good luck.
Yeah, and this is where I feel like we start to get overwhelmed because it's like, well, I don't, I trust these walls of Apple, but I don't want to spend the kind of money it takes to buy, the brand new iPad. So when we go out there and we're looking, what are some trusted name brands for tablets?
I would say probably, almost all the major vendors have some kind of tablet entry out there.
Yes. Once again, you got to kind of figure out what you want to do. If you want a tablet that'll kind of act like a computer, you may want to lean towards one of the Surfaces or maybe a Lenovo Mix, something that's running more of a Windows-based OS. Androids will do pretty close to that, but Apples are more locked into the app-based.
Exactly, and the thing that I look at from the Apple point of view is that Apple does a lot of due diligence with the applications that get put into their application store, where you buy the App Store. They go very far to make sure that those products are vetted and you're not downloading malware and things that have viruses in them and stuff like that. Google, not so much. It's a little bit more of an open playground type thing. So you have to do a little bit more research if you want to go the Google route, I think. Chad brought up an interesting distinction point right before we came out today, and that is if you want to have 100% full control over your device, control every aspect of it, Google and Android, the Android tablets, that's the direction to go in, because you really can set those devices up so you control every aspect of them. Where in the Apple world, you relinquish some of that control to the Apple Corporation.
But the exchange is really time. I used to be an Android person, but the amount of time, to build your tablet or your phone however you want, put all the mods on it, and then if something happens or if something breaks, then you have to start all over from scratch. Where with Apple now, it just works and it's easier to use. Sure, there's some restrictions, but it's the trade-off.
One of the important things, too, and I think both camps are doing this now, and this is very important for people that might be making a decision, is that they have family sharing. So if you do go in either direction, rest assured that both environments allow you to buy applications, buy data, buy music subscriptions, buy subscriptions to the bookstore and app stores, and you can share that out amongst up to like 6 family members.
So I remember back in the day when I was a pimply kid in my teen years and shopping for computer games at CompUSA. Is that place even open anymore?
No, I think they've
so.
disappeared. That was over in Bridgeton.
Yeah.
Micro Center is you're pretty much your
Micro
place to
Center
go.
is definitely
Is
the place
the new
to go.
CompUSA.
Yeah.
But I would look for video games, and then I would realize, well, this is for Mac, and then this one is for PC, and one does not work on the other. Is that the same today with your apps?
I don't really think that's the same today.
The apps, no. The only thing really is your gaming. I mean, gaming on Windows is what people do. People don't really game on the Macs. But that was only mostly because the graphics and the processing speed on computers used to be way above any of the consoles. Now the consoles, are equivalent to PCs, so most people have moved off of I have to buy a Windows so I can play video games. So it kind of frees them
one
up
of
a
the
little
things
more.
that I would add to that is that the Steam store, Valve, the company Valve, creates a game environment that developers can develop games in, and almost all of the games are now cross-compiled, so you can run it on any platform.
But when I have I'm looking for a new tablet or something, and somebody tells me, oh, there's a really cool app out there that you need to download. It doesn't matter if I've got the iOS Apple tablet or the Google Android tablet.
The one distinction that I've seen, most of your major, big name games like Fortnite, for example, Fortnite is available on the Android environment. It's also available on the Apple environment. But the one thing, and I'm not sure if this is still standing, maybe you're more familiar with this, Chad, is they partition so you can't cross-play, play with other players on other platforms.
Yeah.
I think
that
they're
varies
working
depending
towards
on
that.
game,
Right.
pretty much on the developer and which platform you're talking about.
But as far as your Netflix apps and your Amazon Prime and
I
your
think
Amazon
Netflix will play on
Photos-
anything these days.
Yeah, nowadays I think that application not only will play on anything, but I think the end user experience is going to be pretty identical no matter what.
No matter what. So that's not a problem when we're looking at new tablets. So don't have to worry about that. It's not like your Google tablets are any different experience than your Apple tablets when you boil it down. What about this when it comes to security? We get a new computer, we get a new laptop, and we and I don't even know how it works anymore. I have WebRoot antivirus or something on my laptop. Do you need that for your phones and for your tablets too?
I would say yes. Not so much in the Apple world, but I still tell people go ahead and download. I think all the major vendors offer a client that you can run on your iPhone and your iPads and stuff like that. Definitely if you're on the Android devices, I would say, because right now there's general consensus in the industry that the Android operating system is easily exploitable. Because it has to be open to a lot of different hardware vendors to make devices for it.
And is this something that we still have to pay for, or are there free antivirus apps out there?
There's a couple of apps out there like AVG and Sophos and other ones that give free versions of their software out there.
I can't remember if Windows still does their Network Defender.
Defender does come baked in, and it's free.
Defender comboed with AVG and Malwarebytes. That's a pretty good trifecta. It'll use up a bit of your computing power, but it covers a lot of the basis for what you would worry about.
Yeah, and it seems now that we're migrating from a desktop and a laptop to mostly just kind of surfing on the tablets and on our phones, it would make sense that these people, whoever it is out there that makes these worms and viruses, that they would make them for our phones too, because that's where we're living and buying stuff now.
Absolutely.
Now, speaking of phones, you're looking at tablets, you're looking at new phones. Do you get a tablet and got an Android with the Microsoft and the Google on there? Do you get something that's all Microsoft branded?
I think if you're happy with what you might already have, I would stick to that ecosystem. But from my point of view, it's really just a question of what you feel most comfortable with and what you find easiest to use. At the end of the day, and how much time you want to put into maintaining it from an administration point of view.
Yes, maintaining. Apples are pretty easy to lock down. You were telling me about what is that called? The Ring for locking down a family.
Yeah, absolutely, or the Circle device. Yeah, and so there's lots of apps out there that you can download, and you can actually protect your entire family if they belong to a certain ecosystem set of devices. On the Apple, it's really easy to do the family sharing, but you can also lock down the ability for kids to go to certain sites, look up things, stuff like that.
And let's talk about that with our kids these days. My nephews, they're 8 and 9, and they've already got cell phones. So, you see all these horror stories online about kids either purchasing apps and ringing up huge huge credit card bills for, buying all these things for their new games. You mentioned Fortnite.
Yep.
Or you hear even worse stories about people preying on our children.
And both of those are very deep concerns. I think they've done a lot of work to try to alleviate the ability for kids to buy things. And the store is usually pretty understanding. My daughter, when she was younger, bought $60 worth of in-game tokens for some game. I don't remember what it was. But this was before Apple put in protection to prevent that from happening when you do family sharing. And when I approached the store and said, "Hey, my daughter did this," they refunded the money pretty quickly. But now there's protections for it. But predators are always a scare.
Yeah, I mean, there's quite a few apps you can use to try to help and monitor your kids. You have Ignore No More, which it's an app you can put on your phone, and if your kid's not calling you back, you can lock their phone down until they text or call you.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, the one called Canary, it'll report, if your kid's texting and driving. You can put up geofencing to go, it'll alert you, your kid's in a place where they shouldn't be, or, if you've grounded them, how to track them. I think it's a Flamingo, F-A-M-I-G-O. That will block purchasing, texting, internet stuff. Some of these apps, they do have extra in-app purchases for extra permissions or, features to use. Questito, that's another one for web browsing and social media safety. It'll kind of lock that down for them. And Cheeky is just one you can put on there for kids. It'll show them, how many times they check their phone today, just so that they can be more aware that, when they're on it so much.
Right. You never realize. I looked at that the other day. I was like, oh, my gosh, I need to put this thing down.
The new version of iOS for Apple, 12, that came out recently, has a weekly reminder that tells you how much screen time you've spent over the past week and everything like that. So
I need to start interacting more with people.
One of the no kidding. One of the main points that I did want to bring up with regards to the phones and the tablets is that most of the vendors now have a mid-range machine that kind of bridges the gap between the phones and the tablets. I call them phablets. It's kind of a mix. So you have like the iPhone XR and things like that. Those plus sizes,
like the Note.
It's not quite a phone.
The giant phones that you can't really fit in your pocket anymore.
So if you want a dual-purpose device that you can use to lay around the couch and surf the web and watch Netflix on comfortably, but also carry it as a phone, those devices might be the more appropriate choice for somebody.
And let me chime in here, too, that while you guys are looking at all of these apps or things to do, download a password manager to manage all of your apps and all of your passwords for your kids, too, because they're going to hit you up when they forget how to log into things. And it's really secure, and it's an easy way to, keep yourself safe. So all you have to remember is just one password. It might take an extra 30 seconds to look up a password, but, 30 seconds versus getting your bank account hacked or, having games locked out for children. I don't know if anybody else has dealt with screaming kids, but...
Oh, geez, I can only imagine. Yep. And on at least my iPhone, the thumbprint reader, and, you've got your credit cards on there. I pay my banks and my credit cards online, all through my phone. Is that safe these days? Is that as safe as...
It's fairly safe.
So?
It's safe as you can be. As long as you're using, the correct apps with them and turning on two-factor authentication.
When you think about it, when you're doing that transaction, okay, when you go up to a credit card machine in the store with a traditional card that you pull out of your wallet and swipe that, anybody could be holding that card and swiping it. When you're using Apple Pay or Google Pay, you're swiping your card, but at the same time, you're authenticating with a biometric device at the same time. It's very hard for a hacker. I imagine there are, exploits and stuff like that where people can get past and around it programmatically.
Or they could have taken my thumbs.
Exactly. But
You can also use your toes.
Right.
Oh, okay.
And then the facial recognition in the latest generation, the newest iPhones and the iPads have the facial recognition.
Yeah. So those big phones out there, those are really cool if you don't have a problem putting your phone in your pocket. Maybe you got a purse that you carry around, or you want to stick it in your coat jacket, your jacket pocket. Those big phones are kind of cool because you can actually use them, and the screens are big, and you can watch Netflix while you're on the bus or the train or whatever on your way to and from work. I just, on my phone, I got a smaller one, and I'm just like, I don't know if I could watch Game of Thrones on this. It just doesn't give me that experience.
I think, from my personal point of view, I grew up watching bigger screens, so I kind of migrate to that. But the younger generation, I'm finding with my kids, they actually take to the smaller screens, and they don't mind watching a movie in that method.
Yeah, I'd say test it out, find out what's right for you. And don't be afraid to return a phone right away. Or any tech you buy, return it as quick as possible. That way you don't worry about locking out of, if there's only a 30-day return policy. If you're kind of hesitant on it, you might want to return it because I find a lot of people, they get tech, and I'll come help them, show them how to use it, and then it just sits in a corner.
Don't settle, I think, is a good key here. Don't put up with technology that doesn't wrap around your life and do the things that you want it to do.
Yeah, I wouldn't think that you could just take those things right back. But
most of the stores are pretty friendly about that.
I guess it's just like anything else, you know.
Yeah, my wife had one of the old Notes, and then we returned it because it was just way too large.
Yeah. Yeah, and sometimes these phones are just way too big.
Yep.
So
yeah, that's another thing too, hand fatigue. Make sure you hold these devices and touch them and move them around in your hand and switch them from hand to hand before you purchase them, because these larger devices will cause hand fatigue, and that's something to be worried about.
Especially if you're used to texting with just one hand.
Absolutely.
Now you got to use two.
Yep.
When we come back, it is the SumnerOne Holiday Tech Show. When we come back, we'll talk about these smart home devices, your Ring doorbell and your Alexas and whatever else is out there. The Nest. I want to be able to control. I forgot to turn the heat down before I left, and now, it's 75 degrees in the house and nobody's even there. You can control that from abroad. So we'll do that when we come back. It's the SumnerOne Holiday Tech Show on the Big 550 KTRS.
What's in store for your business this week at Staples?
Cases and cases of confidence.
Staples can help give you the confidence that your business is ready for the year ahead with all the supplies you need.
Like paper. And right now, when you buy a 10-ream case of Staples multipurpose paper, you get one free.
So you can be confident you're ready for whatever business comes your way.
Buy one case of Staples multipurpose paper, get one free. Now at Staples, where there's a whole lot in store.
In store only, limit 10, valid through 1/5/19.
Oh, fresh powder. I'll get the skis.
Ugh, I can't.
Winter nasal congestion. Is it A, cold, B, sinus pressure, C, allergies?
I'm not sure.
For all of the above, the answer is D, Allegra D, a maximum strength decongestant plus a powerful non-drowsy antihistamine for 24 hours of relief. Feel better?
Yep. Feel like racing?
Hey, wait! This winter, the answer is Allegra D. Look for Allegra D at the pharmacy counter. Use as directed.
Back to the SumnerOne Holiday Tech Show on KTRS.
Welcome back to the SumnerOne Holiday Tech Show. I'm Josh Gilbert. It's the Big 550 KTRS. Jeff Grobe and Chad Hasselhorst are here answering our questions about holiday tech. When we go out and we want to buy new stuff, what do we do with our old stuff? And coming up in just a second, our smart home devices. How do I use that Alexa to its full potential? But first, Jeff Grobe, thank you for being here today.
Thank you.
Chad Hasselhorst, thank you for being here today.
Glad to be here.
You guys are with SumnerOne. You are SumnerOne. What is SumnerOne?
SumnerOne is a 63-year-old company that started off as office technology, office supplies, and office equipment. And it was originally an A.B. Dick franchise back in the 50s, 1955, and started by Bud Sumner. And it's a family-owned company, and we are now basically a digital IT transformation. We're transforming into a complete IT solutions company. So we will handle print, we handle document management, we handle
server workstations, everything. We do disaster recovery. We pretty much take over for certain companies' IT departments. We augment other people's IT departments. Really, if you have a need, you can come to us and we can figure out if we can help you, and if we can't, we'll let you know. I mean, we'll find the perfect fit for you.
Yeah, big business, small business.
We kind of have a little bit of everything. We focus on the small and the medium-sized business, but we have a couple of big business customers as well. So we even if it's just a consultative role that we can play with people, we'd love to be brought in and help you solve some of your IT problems.
And we can hear you every Friday afternoon on the Guy Phillips Show. You guys have been doing that for a while. But if we wanted to contact you direct,
the best place to contact us would be to call 314-633-8000 and ask for, if you want, just, outline what you want to speak about, and they'll get you to the right department. Another really, really good place, and maybe even better than calling, would be the website www.SumnerOne.com.
Yeah, or just Google SumnerOne. That's the thing these days. Nobody lines up for concert tickets anymore. Nobody calls for tickets anymore. Giving out phone numbers. Most of us are driving when we're listening to the radio. Just Google SumnerOne when you get home or get to a safe spot, and you will find Jeff and Chad. Now, let's talk about smart home devices, because this is like the Wild West to me. It's like, you didn't think that you needed a cell phone that has texting capability. Now you don't even want to talk to people on the phone. You just want to text them. So I don't think I need an Alexa. I don't think I need a refrigerator that will talk to me and send me emails when I'm out of milk. But these things are starting to exist, and there are so many ways that we can use them that I'm probably not even thinking of. So let's get right to the big one. What can I use the Alexa for? Or one of these other home devices?
What we use it for in my family is just general information. What my kids have actually taken to it a lot more positively than I have. And they actually just say, hey, Alexa, or hey, Google, and they ask it a question, and it comes back, it does a web search and comes back and reads the answer to them. So anything they want to ask about, they can get information on.
I use the same thing. I mean, when my kids ask me a question, I go, I don't know. We'll have to look it up. Ask Alexa. And then they can just dive down a rabbit hole of whatever information that they want to find, and she'll start looking it up. Although I still recommend be around while they're talking, because when littler children, some have problems pronouncing.
Oh, yeah.
So you may have to stop Alexa and then try to help them get back.
Yeah. I've seen that video on YouTube.
Yeah, and so it's kind of replaced the encyclopedia. When I was growing up, everybody usually had a set of encyclopedia books in the family that were inherited or purchased or, whatever. And this really is kind of that all-around research tool, but you can also do some practical things. Another one of the things that we use ours for is shopping list. When you're in the house and you're in the kitchen and you're cooking and your hands on a pan and you're doing multiple things, you can actually say, hey Alexa or hey Google, add something to my shopping list, add flour to my shopping list, or add milk to my shopping list, and it will add that. And then later on you can say, read me my shopping list or what's on my shopping list, and it will tell you exactly what's on it.
Yeah, and if it's connected to your Amazon or any other, if you got pets, your Chewy or whatever, you can just say, hey, Alexa, order more dog food. Or, hey, Alexa, have some eggs shipped to the house. And maybe it's tied into the Whole Foods or your local Schnucks or something. And you'll have eggs on your front doorstep within, a couple of hours.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I have a couple Alexas in my house. We like to use them as an intercom system. So you can just talk between the. So if I'm in the bedroom and my wife's downstairs, I can just drop in on the downstairs.
Really?
Yeah, and we can just chat, and then I can turn it off. You can also I have a subscription to Spotify, so that will access anything on Spotify, and then you can tell it to play. I can be in the bedroom, and I can tell it to play music downstairs or play through the whole house. I can also tell it to change my Nest thermostat. So anything. Also, the Hughes. I think it's Philips Hughes. Their new their smart lighting system. Alexa will help you control that. So I mean.
And so you just mentioned the Nest, and this is one of the things that I'm kind of fascinated by, because I've seen my heating bills or my air conditioning bills in the summer, and I'm like, oh, I forgot to lower it when I left. Nobody's home during the day, and I walk out, and it's, I like it nice and toasty in the mornings when it's cold outside like it is now. I like it nice and toasty. I'll crank it up to 75, and then I'll accidentally leave without turning it back down. With the Nest, you can go on an app on your phone, or you can go online, and you can control your home thermostat.
With the Nest, you don't have to do that. They have you can tie it to a primary phone. So if you take your phone with you, your Nest knows that you've left the house, so it'll go to the away mode.
Really?
Yeah, they learn. You can leave that in learning mode, and it will monitor your habits when people are in the house, when they're not in the house, and then it will actually ramp it down. And we just went through this exercise this year. We replaced our furnace, and at the same time we replaced our furnace, we put a Nest in, and we actually are now seeing the cost savings because the device does detect when we're not there, turns the thermostat down, and then ramps it back up when we get home.
See, I thought the future was being able to control it with an app on your phone. The future is now when my phone leaves the house, it knows I'm not there.
Machine learning.
That's amazing.
The two real thermostats everyone's talking about this year is the Ecobee 4 and then the Nest. So there's a couple differences. Nest does have that smart learning capability to where if you wake up in the morning and you turn it to 80 degrees every morning, the Nest will automatically go, oh, he likes it at 80 degrees. We'll change it for him. Well, the Ecobee won't do the smart learning, and it doesn't do the phone geocaching. It just has some other features, like a secondary, I believe it's a Bluetooth sensor. So you can put a secondary sensor for the thermostat in your house, and you can get multiple. So you can put your main unit plus all these side ones. Maybe you have a colder room, so it'll kind of notice this room, is 80 degrees, but the other one's maybe 65. Maybe there's a problem, so maybe we'll blow a little more hair, or just turn the cycling on to put it through the house more.
So I've got an old house, and it's set up for conventional light bulbs. It's set up for a conventional thermostat. When I buy a Nest, or if I want to do this thing where I'm just like, hey, Alexa, turn the lights down for mood lighting, do I have to get all new hardware? Do I have to rewire everything?
Not at all.
The infrastructure, as with regards to power, should remain the same and not be a factor. The one thing you do need to do is make sure that you have a robust and secure wireless network in your house.
And that is something that password protected.
Password
that you
protected.
don't want your neighbors to be able to turn their lights on and off.
Change the password off of the back of the modem. Because everyone, that you know how it says this is your password?
Yeah, and it's a jumble of letters and numbers.
Once again, put that in your key code saver for your passwords, and then you won't have to remember it until you have to dig it up again. Keeps you more secure.
A lot of things that people have been using right before Christmas as they're getting a lot of packages delivered to their house, and even just year-round, it's very useful as people come up and more people are ordering things online. You know, they're ordering your fabric softener and your laundry detergent, and everything's coming to the house now. Porch Pirates. But you've got something called the Ring, and that's your doorbell that has a camera on it that you can access 24/7.
Yep.
Absolutely.
The Ring Pro versus I believe it's the Nest. Nest pretty much has a product for everything. They even have a Roomba version.
The Nest Roomba.
I think it's called the Vacuum Bot.
The Nest Vacuum Bot.
Yeah. But the Ring Pro versus the Nest Hello is they're pretty close. I mean, they both have about the same response time. The real differences you're going to see is with the Ring, you're going to get two-way audio recorded. But you're only going to have recordings when somebody motion activates or presses the button. But it's not going to record 24 hours like your Nest will do.
Mm-hmm.
So, but also you have the temperature difference. The Ring will actually operate from -5 degrees Fahrenheit to 140, while your Nest will only do about 14 degrees Fahrenheit to 105, so you may start experiencing issues there. You have slightly better audio quality with the Nest, but the Ring, for some reason, people seem to like it a little better. I think it's a more robustness. Plus, there's a built-in anti-theft feature. So if somebody steals your Ring, you file a police report, send that police report to Ring, and they'll send you a new one.
I never really even thought of someone stealing the doorbell.
Stealing the doorbell, yeah.
Yeah, but I think to get these Porch Pirates and to get them on camera, you got to have motion-activated sensors. So normally you think that it doesn't start recording until somebody rings the doorbell, but if somebody walks up to the porch, these things will turn on.
Absolutely, absolutely. And then, generally, I've seen some videos on YouTube where, the people that are stealing the packages, they're on the porch. The owner of the house will get a notification on the phone, and then they'll open up the mic and say, "What are you doing?
Yeah.
Or what do you need?" And it scares the people off.
Get the heck out of here.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And there's very minimal delay from all the testing that I've seen with the doorbells. When you walk up, it's about less than a 4-second differential from as soon as it sees motion. The only downside is once you've been alerted to a motion, it takes a little while for you to get another motion-activated alert on your phone.
Yeah. So our house can be just like the Jetsons. We just have to take the time, and the infrastructure involved is not that much.
Oh, one thing I did forget to tell you, the Echo B4 has a built-in Alexa. That's one of the other features that people really like about it, why they're saying it's so nice.
Okay. And the Echo B4 that's the new kind of...
It's the alternative to the Nest.
To the Nest.
Yeah, it's going to be a little more expensive. They have the same MSRP, but the Nest have been out longer, so you're going to find better deals coming up and, more opportunities to find discounts.
An important thing to note with regards to the Nest and probably the Echo B4 is that many of the power companies nowadays are giving rebates. When we purchased my Nest, when we replaced our furnace, Ameren Illinois Power pretty much footed the bill for our Nest. The rebate that we got covered the cost of the Nest.
Yeah, that's really great. We just had our HVAC replaced, and we got one of these that are energy efficient, and we got money back. So these things will control and keep all the energy costs down, and you can get a refund or a rebate from the energy companies.
And they actually help you kind of be proactive. We had a problem after we installed our Nest. Our furnace kept running for 20 hours a day. We found out I was trying to run humidifiers, and that blocked up the vent. But we got a report at the end of the week. It's telling you how much it's running. And when you compare it to previous reports, you go, well, why is it running for 20 hours if it only ran for 6 last week? The temperature's not that different.
Yeah, that's really cool. And your house is telling you, hey, I could be more efficient.
Yeah.
Just here are the numbers.
It won't tell you what's wrong, but it'll tell you something's wrong.
And that's another important feature. The not with the Nest, but we also replaced a garage door opener this past summer, and the garage door opener now is also connected. And I can actually look at my phone app wherever I am and see what the status is on my door, whether it's open, whether it's closed, whether it's partially open, and I can control it from my phone app and close it if it's open or anything like that as well.
I love it. It's so overwhelming, but you guys are making me want to dive in because being able to control all this stuff from my phone, I just started paying my credit cards online, and I haven't had a late payment ever since because it's right there, something that's on me 24/7, and it's not like, oh, I'll do it later. I can just do it now.
Yep.
You know, so the home of the future, is there a website or something that we could go to that we could kind of be able to navigate this, or they'll walk us through it?
There's a lot of stuff out there. Once again, I think I'd default to what you said earlier. Just use Google. Just look up smart homes in Google, and you're going to get a ton of links and stuff talking about that.
And poll your friends and family. I mean, you're not the only one buying smart technology now. You can find out people's experiences, what they liked, what they didn't like. And it's also nice to have somebody you know around that has actually used the product before, and you can call for help.
Yeah, that's true. Have somebody come over and set it up for you who's done this before.
Sure.
And, give them a kickback or a nice bottle of wine.
That does remind me,
for their time.
You need to register. Please register all your products. This is how companies will get a hold of you when there's updates, if there's issues, if there's recalls on anything. Register your product.
Yeah, fill out the little card or go to the website after you purchase the device and make sure you put in your registration, serial number, stuff like that. Because
I think the more paranoid of us would think, I don't want to register because I don't want them monitoring me. But
from a security point of view, I'd highly recommend it because, like Chad said, if there's an update to the firmware that's important and they find a flaw in it, that the company's going to use that list of people to communicate that out.
And send you an email. Or maybe your Alexa will talk to you and say, hey, it's time to update me. All right, it's the SumnerOne Holiday Tech Show. When we come back, we'll wrap up and tell you what to do in 2019 when it comes to all your tech needs. It's the SumnerOne Holiday Tech Show on the Big 550 KTRS.
What's in store for your business this week at Staples?
Cases and cases of confidence.
Staples can help give you the confidence that your business is ready for the year ahead with all the supplies you need.
Like paper. And right now, when you buy a 10-ream case of Staples multi-purpose paper, you get one free.
So you can be confident you're ready for whatever business comes your way.
Buy one case of Staples multi-purpose paper, get one free. Now at Staples, where there's a whole lot in store.
In store only, limit 10, valid through 1/5/19.
A good night's sleep starts with the right pillow. That's where MyPillow comes in, and we're excited to announce the new 4-pack special. Go to MyPillow.com, click on the 4-pack special tab, and save 50% off the 4-pack, which includes 2 MyPillow premiums and 2 Go Anywhere pillows. Use promo code SKY at checkout or call 1-800-635-1825. That's 1-800-635-1825. Or go to MyPillow.com, click the 4-pack special tab, and use promo code SKY at checkout.
Back to the SumnerOne Holiday Tech Show on KTRS.
Back on the SumnerOne Holiday Tech Show on the Big 550 KTRS. I'm Josh Gilbert, sitting here with Jeff Groby and Chad Hasselhorst from SumnerOne. Guys, we're heading into 2019, and the word of the new year and of the past few years has been security. So what can you tell us when we use our phone devices, our tablets, our laptops, our desktops, our Nest, our home Alexas? What's the one big thing to keep those all secure?
I think one of the main things to keep them secure is make sure that any updates that are released by the vendors are applied to the devices. Many of your devices today are smart enough that they'll actually self-update, but some of them, Warren's looking at read the manual when you take your device out of the box, see if it updates on its own. If it doesn't, apply firmware updates, go to the website, make sure you have the latest drivers, accept the patches that are being pushed down to the device if you get an alert, stuff like that. It's a hassle, in your daily life sometimes to wait for the device to reset and go through the whole thing, once it applies an update, but it's almost always in your best interest to apply the latest updates.
Yeah, I used to slow myself down because I didn't like the graphics interface changes, but you have to get past that in order to get secure.
Yeah, and I'll get the alerts on my phone that says time to update your phone.
Absolutely.
And I'll do it, and my wife won't.
Right.
And, at the very least, at least now I have the new emojis.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, there's a very strong argument right there for accepting those updates.
But accept the updates because they are not only giving you cool new emojis, but they're actually protecting your phone and giving you the best, fastest.
And when they patch that releases to the world, we fix these things so then people can look at those issues and backtrack what the problem was from the previous release. And if you haven't patched, they can get in.
Okay.
And more importantly, also, if you ever take your phone or device to a support center, they're going to ask you, is it up to the latest version? And almost always they're going to make you upgrade to the latest version before they even
look at it. Okay. So keep updating your phone and your Nest and your Alexas and everything. What is another thing security-wise? This two-factor authentication that we had discussed.
Absolutely. Two-factor authentication is just basically one additional method of identifying yourself when you log into a website. What I generally tell people is when it comes to important things like your important email account, your important bank account, things like that where you're moving money or really personal information, protect those accounts with two-factor authentication. It generally parlays itself into receiving a text message on your phone or mobile device at the same time that you're logging in, and then you have to take the contents of that message and type it in as well. So you're basically saying, I'm logging in with these credentials, but I'm also who I say I am because I have a second method of confirming that.
And anybody who works in accounting or maybe in the administration that logs into bank websites, they usually give people key fobs that randomly generate numbers. That's their second factor authentication. So you log in with your stuff, and then the key fob they give you lets you log in. So it's just going to become a new standard. I mean, people really need to slow down when they're using technology. It speeds everything up, but when you do that, then you're losing your checks. That's how people get spam, and then they ended up getting malware because they signed into a website because it said, hey, someone wrote a story about you, and you really want to see it so fast that you don't even know that you've just given them all your credentials.
Yeah, and it's like you said, it's just an extra text message with random 6 digits that you just type in.
Exactly.
You know, we've all had that before when we forgot our Google password or something.
Yep.
So when you're logging into your bank accounts, you're using your thumb imprint and everything. Here's just another way to keep that stuff extra safe because that's our money.
Yep.
And also, I don't think people realize, but there's not many ways that you would get notified if somebody logs into your Gmail account and they have your password. So they log in authenticate with your password and username. Unless you go down and track into Google on how they get in, you're never going to notice. But if someone has a problem with the two-factor, it's always going to pop up, even if they have your password right.
Yeah.
So you're going to know someone's trying to get in.
And then as we do head into 2019, what is the wave of the future? What's one cool tech item that we will be looking at that was fun and is the wave of the future?
Well, one I've been talking about, I've seen it's glasses. They're called Focals by North. They have a built-in display. It will combo with your Alexa. It comes with a small little ring with a D-pad so you can scroll through your text messages. And it's almost like the next iteration for the iWatch, where you can interact with your phone. And the capability seems quite interesting.
Is it kind of like a heads-up display for daily life?
Yeah.
Plus, they can be prescription.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
They do have quite a price tag, but it's new technology.
New technology, and that'll come down. We'll all, we all have gotten LASIK, but in the future we'll all be wearing glasses again. And I hope they're a little more stylish than the Google Glass that came out a couple years ago.
Oh yeah, they look pretty stylish.
So that might be the wave of the future. Wearables for your heads-up display wearing glasses. Thank you so much, Jeff Groby and Chad Hasselhorst from SumnerOne. You can listen to them every Friday afternoon on the Guy Phillips Show. So in the new year, 2019, tune in to the Guy Phillips Show every Friday afternoon, and you can hear Jeff and Chad talk about the new tech for the future and how we can keep our existing tech safe from hacking. Thank you guys so much. Happy holidays, and we'll see you in the new year.
Thank you.
This has been the SumnerOne Holiday Tech Show, a production of KTRS St. Louis.